Page 10, Red Rose Rendezvous. A jazz waltz. Jazz again, huh? The difference is, on this one, we're going to play the eighth notes evenly, because that's what the composer said to do. Well, let's look at this. I'm going to start with the right hand. I want to talk a bit about fingering and rhythm. At the beginning of this, on page 10, in the second line, when the right hand comes in, it's not bad. Now keep in mind there's one flat in the key signature. Okay? Now you're going to reach down in the second measure there, the second line, to get your third finger on the A flat. And then in the last measure, it's between phrases, so you lift up, and so you don't have to cross under here, the thumb under, you can lift up and move the hand. In the third line down, you have an A flat in the second measure, but it's an A natural in the next measure because the flat sign doesn't count anymore. So be careful on those. At the end of the line, they give you a C natural as natural in parentheses because it really shouldn't be in parentheses. It counts. You have to have that natural there, or you should play a sharp because there's a C sharp in the left hand. Top of page 11, second measure with the eighth notes. You're here. In the next measure, I suggest a 3-4 for those, just so I don't have to use the same finger on both C's. You can if you want to, but I prefer the 3-4. Third line down on page 11. They're suggesting, because you're here on the D, you tied it over, they're suggesting a 2-1-3. You need the 3 on the second measure. But I suggest you go on the first measure, it's a 1. I suggest you just use an extended position and you go 2, 3, 5, and then immediately substitute the third finger. You got to be able to do finger substitutions anyway. So yeah, it's 5 for the second measure, the D 5, and then immediately put your third finger on it, and you're fine. On page 12, it's the first line, last measure. Okay, you're here. And then in the next measure, that's the first measure, the second line, I suggest, they're saying 1-4, I suggest a 2-4. Because you're going to play an F, and you're going to hold down the 4, the C. So if you do a 2-4 here, you're in position to connect those. I know the pedal's down, I don't care. Do it with the fingers. So that's what I recommend. Not so easy in the third line, third measure when you're playing the chord, because it's a staccato. Now you have to have the pedal connected there because it's in that situation. Page 13, third line down, last two measures. We got those eighth notes again. Same thing as I suggested before. In the last measure, a 3-4. And the last line, same thing. Here. Now watch. Here you have a fermata. This is the third measure over in the last line. Lift up, and then again. And then you have a 1-3, and that bottom note is an F. Hold the F down because it's tied to the next measure, and you just play the D. And I'm going to hang on to that dotted half note for 6 counts for the fermata, and then the left hand comes over to play the last chord. Speaking of the left hand, take a look at page 10. Let's work on this rhythm. At the beginning, you have an eighth note, quarter note, eighth note, quarter note. It's like, well, it's like weird. 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. So the first eighth note is on beat 1, 2, and the last quarter note is on beat 3. Everything else is in between. There's nothing to help you out. So you just have a 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. Second measure, hold down that dotted half note for the whole measure. So we're hearing all 3 notes, and then again. And then the right hand comes in, and hopefully by then you can do this rhythm in the left hand because it's all over the place and it has to be steady. The right hand's going to do other stuff, so you got to get the left hand where it's the steady rhythm. on page 12 at the top, the first line, on the third measure over, you've got all three notes in the chord. The bottom note is a dotted half note. Hold it down while you play the last one. And that quarter note there, I'm going to hold for 2 counts. And then go on. And follow their fingering, it's fine. And that takes you all the way to the end. On the bottom of page 13, that last chord where the left hand goes over the right, figure out what the notes are. It's an F, a B natural, and an E. Now, you finger it as you choose. They say 5-2-1, that's fine. It's easier for you to use 5-3-1, that's fine too. Remember, the right hand is here, and it stays here, so you're way up here. So, good luck. And then I'm going to hold that left hand chord down for 4 counts because of the fermato. Let's talk pedal. Pedal it the way they're telling you to pedal it. Be careful because there's staccatos in here. So you got to make sure you're lifting the pedal up so we hear the staccatos. Look at the last measure on page 10. Your pedal is down. And then at the top of page 11, right when you play those notes, lift it up. Because we want to hear the staccato in the left hand, and the first note in the left hand's an 8th note. That happens in other places. Just make sure you lift it up so we can hear the staccatos when we need to. Now at the top of page 12, you're pedaling the 3rd and 4th measure, and that's fine. And then overlapping pedal. And then they're saying overlapping pedal again. I guess that's okay going into the next measure. I would lift it up when I played the last measure, the first note in the last measure. And you get the same style. Going back to the right hand, page 12, 3rd measure over, that chord, I suggest you finger that 2-4. So you can connect the F and the E. There too, just like you did on the first measure. Now, 3rd line down on page 12, 3rd measure, you're pedaling that. Lift the pedal up on beat 3 so we hear the staccato. Same thing on the last measure. Lift the pedal up so we hear the staccato on the last count. And then at the end, of course, the pedal and the hands all come up at the same time. Let's try this out really, really, really slowly. You can do the dynamics, and please put in the dynamics because they are so important. They really make a piece. I don't know what a moderate waltz tempo, you'll have to figure that out, but we're going to go slow. And when I do this, I'm going to do pages 10 and 11 and stop. Then we're going to turn the page, and then we're going to do pages 12 and 13. I'll count us in again for at the top of page 12. So left hand's here. The right hand is here, foot's on the pedal, we're ready to go. I'll give us 3 counts, it's in 3/4 time. 1 and ready and go, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2, 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. turn the page. Hands where they go. Foot's on the pedal here. 3 counts. I'll give us 3 counts. 1 and ready and go and. 1, 2, 3, hold. Off. I'll give you a little idea what I think this might sound like. I don't play it all, but to just give you an idea, something I guess like this.